All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about why your passion probably won't make you rich, but here's what can. And I'm going to describe that in a couple minutes from now. I just want to give a quick shout out to David Hunter's recent video on this. I'm going to link it right below this. He's someone I've honestly been following in like the business world, money Twitter space for many, many years. I've even spoken to him a couple times personally on Twitter spaces. His most recent video really just hit this perfectly. And this really sparked a few further thoughts in my head. And it's something that I think really clicked with me. And I personally don't think it's talked about enough. This specific topic of, just follow your passion. It's like, it's not enough, especially more now than ever. And I wanted to talk about that. So I'm going to link his video below. Check it out after this one. But again, I want to get this out of the way too. Disclaimer, there are multimillionaires, maybe even billionaires, very wealthy people working on their passion projects. Okay, I get it. A live example of this is Max Tuning and Sour Strips. Search Max Tuning up. I followed him for, again, years. I've spoken to him way back because I actually bought from his first clothing company called Ever Forward. He was just doing YouTube full time. And then 6 years ago, he started a sour candy company, sold 100% of the equity for a rumored 80 to 100 million to Hershey's. And he still, as of literally last week, his most recent vlog, goes to conventions and sells products by hand. He stocks and organizes shelves when he can. He says he will not stop until that company is like number one because he's just so passionate about sour candy. You could see it and hear it in his voice. So it is rare, but yes, it can happen if the market demand is there, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But guys, for the most part, your passion has to have so many other factors sticking together perfectly if you really want to get rich. And the chances are just stupidly slim. I thought I was passionate about what I was doing for about a year. And then I just realized it's like, no, what I am passionate about is the money, is the freedom that this thing buys. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first things first, I want to get this out of the way. You have to understand, and this is something I want to call the passion paradox. Just because you really like something doesn't mean there's enough market demand to actually make you millions. You have to understand this from a business side of you. It's like a real scenario of this is Christian Guzman. He owns Alphalete, which is a super successful clothing company, but his very first business was actually guitar lessons. He was super passionate about the guitar. I think he still plays to this day, maybe. I don't know. I see some clips of that rolling around. That was his first real way of making money as a teenager, but then he realized how unscalable that really was and pivoted to fitness coaching, and that made him a ton more money, right? So you just have to understand the economics. And I mean, you could use ChatGPT, you could use Google and different CAGR calculators of like, okay, is there actually enough demand for this thing? Is there actually enough interest to make serious money? And fitness coaching is obviously this huge market, right? So that's an opportunity. Another one, could be business coaching, could be consulting, could be all these types of different factors, right? There's so many things that, yes, you can make money on, but then there are others that it's like, honestly, guys, if there isn't competitors for it, if there isn't money being made already for it, it's probably not a good thing. So it's probably not a good idea to follow that, follow your passion, BS rule. And I just want to talk about that. It's like what I'm passionate about. I know a guy who manufactures cabinet fixtures, like the literal handles on cabinet fixtures. Do you think this guy cares and wakes up every day and says, oh my God, I'm so passionate about this? Hell no. It's just like me with my real estate marketing business. It's like, do you think I'm passionate about speaking to realtors all day and helping out and, talking to them about numbers and really super boring stuff? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite. But I realize it's like, hey, this is my one-way ticket to freedom. What this buys is cash flow. What cash flow buys is assets to protect me and my family for the rest of my life and build actual wealth that way, right? So I just wanted to get that part really cleared away and stored away first before going into number two, which is the other kind of equation that you got to tell yourself is like skill set versus business acumen. Your talent doesn't always equal business expertise, right? Just because you're passionate about something doesn't automatically make you good at the business side of things, like managing your money, your marketing, scaling a product. Those are all very different skill sets than just being good at something, right? Like, a talented artist or photographer will probably really struggle with pricing their work or building like an actual feasible customer list because they just aren't familiar with how to market themselves or do any of that. Now, some of that stuff just comes naturally, if you will, when you build an audience, but still it's very, very difficult. And you just have to be careful, right? Which goes into number three, timing and luck. The role of timing and luck is sometimes, like, even if you have a great product or a great idea, the timing just may not be right. The market, again, may just not need or want it for another 5, 10, 20 years or maybe ever, right? So that's why I just follow. It's like, I don't care if I'm passionate about something. If AI is this huge niche, for example, that's just blowing up, I don't give a damn what you have to do in the AI niche. Doing anything will probably make you very, very rich if you know what you're doing. So it doesn't mean you necessarily have to be passionate about it. You just need to follow the trend, follow the wave. And I do think this trend is here to stay. Some people think otherwise, but I personally think it's just this huge market that will become saturated and will become populated over time. And I don't know, it's just something to look at. And that kind of goes into like the streaming thing, for example. And I want to talk about myself as a real case for this. Like, my goal for this year is to have this thing pay my biggest expense, which is my rent. If this thing could just pay my apartment rent, I'm happy. Now, what I would be ecstatic with by the end of this year is all of my monthly expenses. And last year, I'm pretty transparent about this. Maybe I'll make a video on it if there's actually enough demand. I made almost $2,000 off of this between, ad revenue / AdSense. Most of it was obviously consulting calls, a couple like donations through streams. I made some decent money, and I was like, holy shit. And for context, my rent is in the twos, in the midway through $2,000 a month. And I was like, holy crap, like, we are closer than ever. And that may not be the case for some other people, but I'm always gamifying things. I'm always looking at myself and being like, listen, I'm all for hacks. Like, how do we get this thing, my hobby, this thing that I can play video games and talk to people on and really help people, can pay for my biggest expense? That's my goal by hopefully summer of this year. And it's just something that's really cool. So if you want to track it that way, do it. I highly, highly recommend it. And that kind of goes into the point of like streamers and gamers and all that stuff. It's like, that is a great idea, but there might be oversaturation of that market. How many streamers do you know that have failed, or that just not necessarily gone out of business, but that just got burnt out, or they just don't do it anymore because they didn't get enough traction? It's like the Nick Mercs, the XQCs, the Kai Cenats, like all these people. That's great, but they grinded and they stuck with it for so many years that they actually built a large enough following to sustain them forever. But it's way harder. And I'm not saying it's impossible. It's definitely possible, but you have to have a serious edge. You have to have and be in a serious niche if you really want to make that thing work. So you have to be careful, play the math and do the numbers, on a piece of paper or in your head, and be like, listen, is there enough viewership to really make this thing work? And I'll admittedly, I haven't really talked about this, but end of last year, November, December, when I started really doing this, it's like, of course, all the dopamine receptors were just flickering off in my head, being like, oh my God, this is crazy. This could totally change my life. It's like, dude, you just need to focus on your business. Like your business, my cash flow agency is where I'm going to make most of my money. It'd be stupid to neglect that and think that this YouTube thing can take it over. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the chances of that happening are super slim. And I know that because, one, it's the gaming niche. Two, it's like these old Call of Duties. It's like, I don't know if there's actual enough market demand to feed myself for the rest of my life if this thing was just to take over everything. I really don't think there is. So I know I'm kind of rambling off here, but I just think it's something that's not talked about enough. It's like, follow your passion and all this stuff. And it's just, why? Like, why do you think that is feasible to keep you, to build wealth, to make you millions? And usually the people telling you that are just trying to find your emotional trigger and then flicker on that, even though it's not legit, even though it's not accurate or real. And they're trying to make you buy into, courses or programs. I'm here to tell you the opposite. It's BS. I don't think, especially now more than ever, people are not, it's like, if you can do both, awesome. Like I said, max tuning in the beginning, sour strips, total anomaly. That is so rare. And in most cases, you just got to stick with stuff that you don't like to do whatever you like in the future. That's just how it is, right? And that comes through a 9-to-5 job, that comes through running a boring business, whatever it is. So I don't know. I think that's it in terms of the topic, at least. Maybe I'll leave, some gameplay. I would love to hear some gameplay in the background, but I want to actually ask you one question. What is your passion? I want to see if I can help you maybe in the comments and tell you if there's, in my opinion, enough feasible market share to make a living off of it, to actually like make you multi-six figures, make you multi-millions, and actually be honest and just tell you straight up, it's like, this is a great idea, or dude, like, park this, do this on the side, but you need something like full-time that you can actually work on and you can actually make a feasible amount of money through. So comment below with what your passion is, And maybe 2, comment if you've made money from it or you want to actually make money from it. And if it's just a hobby, then it's just a hobby. That's totally fine. This thing started as a hobby for me, but then when I saw, again, going back to him, he's awesome, Learn, I was like, damn, this thing could actually, provide some cool side income. And I just wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it. So all that to say, as always, if you've made it this far, I want to see you win. Seriously, leave those comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear about them, and we'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the gameplay in the meantime. I have my Twitter linked below. Please follow me there. You're going to get more of my unfiltered thoughts. I've got my book a consult call link if you want to talk more about finances. There's obviously one-to-one. If you want to talk about finances, just personal stuff, business stuff, hit me there, book me there. Any questions, let me know, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.